And we are live. So I want to welcome everyone to the Power of Girlhood YouTube channel. Today you're with the founder, myself, Brenda Williams, the executive director and founder of the Power of Girlhood. And it gives me such pleasure to be here today with our honored guests. I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. So we are here today with Alexis Douglas, who is an activist, teacher, self-recovery coach, motivational speaker, workshop facilitator, and the founder of the 501c3 organization R&R Village, which is a programming that supports and helps Black and American descendants of slavery heal from the impact of systemic racism. So welcome, Alexis.
Thank you. Thank
And
you for having me.
we're super happy to have you. And we're also joined by Ellen Chamberlain, unapologetic, Black, queer femme, and she writes articles. She's a voiceover talent and is also a ghostwriter. And I'm just going to throw out for good measure, a graduate of Wayne State University, Puka Puka, our alma mater as well. So we just want to put a shout out there. So, ladies, we're just going to jump into it. We're in the middle of not just June, we're can't believe it, 6 months into a new year, and we are still faced with some very real issues. We are, yes, in the middle of Pride Month, Black Music Month, Juneteenth. And one of the things that we really like to focus on within the power of girlhood is the power of our identity and experiences, because nothing is wasted. And as I named off a bit of who you are and what you all do, it's like an and. So I want to, and either one of you can take this. What does intersectional identity mean to you?
I'll hop in. I think intersectional identity is recognizing the fullness of who you are. I think that each of us lives in or at the crossroads of some identities. Like, even if we want to examine our white male counterparts, there's some intersection to be had. But then when you look at a Black girl like me, like there's some really cool intersections. So, I am Black, but beyond that, I am a woman. And beyond that, I am queer. And beyond that, I am a creative. And there are all these different tribes of people that I get to belong to.
That
That's so good.
was almost everything I would have said. To that, I will add, it is the way in which the circles or the arenas in which I get to enter and operate within the world. I'm a Black woman, so I can understand a Black experience. I can understand the woman experience. Excuse me. I'm also a sister. I am an aunt. I am not a mother, so I can understand a single mother woman's experience. There are many facets that make up my identity, who I choose to be, but all of them are ways in which I choose to navigate the world. Some chosen and not chosen. I didn't choose necessarily. Well, that depends on how far you go back to be a Black woman. But I do get to enjoy and bask in all of the glory of being a Black woman daily.
That's beautiful. And I think that, when we, especially for our girls, when we're writing that ever elusive college essay, where
Oh, I'm sorry, Brenda. It might be me, but I've got a frozen
No,
screen. Okay.
I was just freezing too in hopes that it would catch up. um, well, in the meantime, if we are still streaming, I would add that an identity is something very important and integral to who you are. And so it behooves everyone to know the intersections of their identity. Excuse me.
Certainly.
To know where they meet other people and where they're separate from other people.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. So sorry for the technical difficulties, but as you all so eloquently laid out, all of the intersections and layers, and of course we get parts even deeper into identity and who we are. Can you share with us how your intersectional identities have served you in the world, and perhaps how you use them in the careers that you have today?
Um, well, as a self-recovery coach and as a Black woman in a society that is not always favorable to Black women, while it was not a pleasant experience, there are a number of oppressive experiences that I've had and had to navigate. I do not believe in this is the only way you can learn. I'm not one of them people that is like, oh, be ever so grateful for all of the trauma that you received because you got all these skills from it. What I'm saying is be grateful for the skills, and there's many ways to get them. But having that experience and having been through a number or a multitude of oppressive experiences, there are many people who I can relate to on their inner parts or their challenging parts. And that often builds trust. My consistency keeps that trust, but I'm able to get to people and to connect to people quicker, to attune to them quicker, to be able to like read them. That's how, I have the power of discernment because of a lot of the things that I've had to experience. So I feel like I have a more solid footing in the world and in myself. I'm more grounded because of my identity as a Black woman. Because of being a woman and being Black, I have had to fight or had, excuse me, not fight. I've had to persevere. Fight is not what I do anymore. I give up my resistance, but I've had to persevere a number of challenging things. And I feel like that says something about me as a person. It makes me feel worthy, feel validated. Not that I wasn't before, but now I know it. So I walk through the world with a certain air of confidence because of.
I love that. Love that. I would have to echo that in some sense. I can't say that a lot of my experiences served me until recently. And that's like part awareness, part growing up, part late bloomer, and part just the world shifting. Because like Alexis was saying, like being Black was not celebrated the way that it is now. Which was cool because like we grew up and we were taught to love us and we were taught the things that were never brought up in school anyway, like, but we were counter to the norm. And being any type of anybody in the alphabet family or on the rainbow flag, like pick your identity. It didn't matter. It was dangerous in a different kind of way than it is now. Like you'd be ostracized, you might still get kicked out of your house, like, and those things were terrible. But I mean, like you would fear for your life in a different kind of way. But then the culmination of those things have helped me have some cool stories to tell. And I work, boom, as a storyteller, right? So those things have worked out. And now the world is checking for us, right? Like the world is looking for the bi girls and the gay girls to talk their talk. And it's looking for the Black girls to validate whatever they want because they're always looking for us to say something is cool. But now they're actually listening to us when we say it instead of just watching. So like the things are starting to serve now. So I think it's an awesome time to be a girl of color. Because like you could just kind of ride this thing from birth. And it's like, yeah, it is your birthright. Like, ride out, have fun, do it all.
Yeah, and I think that that's so interesting to say that from birth, right? And so when we look at going back, prior generations, you know, you had to hide your identity. If you could, you would pass. There was a time where that was a thing as well. So both of you can speak to um, the power of visibility. What impact does it have on one's being and perhaps culture and the world when you are visible?
Okay, well, let's just go from a marketing perspective. It takes 8 impressions to get into somebody's subconscious. So if you want the world to know you exist, they need to see you at least 8 times. Um, in order, like, if you are a child or a person who spends time in isolation for whatever reason, oftentimes you look to TV, media, social media to see a world reflected back to you so you can find yourself. If there's nothing that looks like you, sounds like you, nothing you can relate to, you're lost in the world if you don't have that guidance in your nuclear family. Um, Visibility means that you have options, not just categories to try to fit yourself into. You have options for different parts of yourself to explore. You you have less internalized messages of what's wrong with me or why not me, which are seeds of victim consciousness. Um, so that means that then you're feeling more empowered in the world, more able to explore. Your curiosity is not punished; it is rewarded. There's like being visible adds so much belonging to your experience, even though all of your fears will tell you the opposite. But when you're visible, you find who likes you because they can find you.
Mm-hmm. And just to have those examples, I was talking to someone last night about like all my favorite old 80s and 90s TV shows, and
80s and 90s TV.
like that to intersectionality, like being able to lean into different parts of who I eventually became to be because I saw them exemplified in media. Like Laura Winslow was like the cool, smart Black girl. And I'm like, yeah, always popping. I do that. But like she was still a cool girl. And then like eventually, sisters of it all and all the fun things. But then I could still watch Murphy Brown and say, oh, journalism, news anchor, like that might be me. Or Gilmore Girls, when Roy Gilmore went on to study journalism. I'm like, yo, that like there were always seeds. So I think that seeing yourself reflected in the world matters. And I think it matters even more when it's like just straight skin tone, because you see that first before I get to understand what drives you and what you want to be and why you want to be that. I see you or I hear you, but I hear me. I know what this sounds like. I know what Black girls sound like. And it matters to me to hear this, just the same way it matters to hear the Black girl who speaks nothing like me and her experience is just valid. I love being able to see those reflections.
I love that you brought that up because it made me think of intersectionality too, because you brought up Murphy Brown. I was like, I used to watch Murphy Brown, and while I didn't want to be a journalist, she was a brazen, sassy woman like me. And so my womanhood identity could see myself in Murphy Brown, where my Black identity could not.
Right. Come on, I live for it. I can't wait to share that with my friend later. Like, see other people like Murphy Brown.
Me and my mama love Murphy Brown.
I think Murphy Brown was like, seriously, it was a thing. And, now that you all mention it, when I think about representation, even though, of course, there was no representation of women of color in Sex and the City, I still found myself really drawn to the show and enjoying the show. Being mad at Carrie, but that's a whole other story for that fiasco with Big. But my point is, girl, I was like, wow, please.
Just a hot mess. That's why I identified between Miranda and Samantha. That was like
Okay.
there was an intersection between them. That was all me.
And so I sort of saw myself between.
You said you were
Who
Charlotte?
Were you,
I watched Noah's Ark and Girlfriends.
Oh.
I did not get into the sex.
Well, which girlfriend were you? Because I have intersections in there too.
Okay, definitely intersections. I would say I was a Lynn until I was maybe 30. And no, still Lynn. Grew up just like Lynn grew up. And collecting degrees along the way. What about y'all?
I think I'm a
Definitely
I
Joan.
have a part of Lynn. You're Joan? Yeah, I could totally see you as Joan Berhenda all day. I have
Mhm.
a Joan aspirational side, like I aspire to be more
Yes,
Joan like, but I am a combination between Lynn and Maya.
I love Amaya. Oh, heck yes. Yes.
Yes.
Oh
Love
hell
it.
no! Oh yes.
Right. So, um, so ladies, I think that even what we're talking about of how like things bleed into pop culture really do have an impact on the way that we see ourselves. And both of you have social media presences. You're active in your communities and multiple communities. And Ellen, I just want to kind of come back to something that you said earlier, particularly when we talk about LGBTQIA plus identities. We hear a lot now about houses, and I can remember even when I was in high school. I'm dating myself, but going back to the '90s, I went to prom, and we went to we took pictures at his family's, like his family of origins home, but then we went to his house. And I
Nice.
thought that we went to his house and visited his other family.
Okay.
And I thought that was, but listening to the stories though about how those families even came to be, because people were kicked out of their homes, beaten, as you had mentioned, excommunicated from, or disfellowshipped from church, or again, community, and then families of origin. It was like the house mother, at least the house mother in this case, it happened to be an older white woman who
Okay.
purchased a home, and converted it into like a kind of like a halfway house, or a place, or a haven, for you know the children to come and live. And I just thought it was so interesting, not just interesting but heartbreaking, because it was like you were discarded. Like, how do you carry something in your body for 9 whole months and just simply discard it? And I think that what I would love to hear from you is the necessity of a house, why it exists, and because I don't want us to kind of like get into I think it's easy to move into the celebration, to the happy and the parade part of movement, but also I really want to center like the necessity of why houses exist.
Um, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that up. I should start by saying that I am a woman of a particular age, and I am out of the loop in many regards. Um, and and just like all phases and aspects of pop culture, counterculture, or in this case, what once was counterculture, which has now become pop culture, goes through cycles too. Houses were a really big thing. They went away for a little bit, and now it seems like there's a resurgence of them. When I was coming up, it was all about being Greek. Everybody wanted to be a gay Greek because the houses were like a thing of the past for a bit. But I think that they're important, and I love that they're coming back, because what a Greek unit can't offer, or doesn't, the structure doesn't offer, that a house does, is quite literally family. Your house is your chosen family. And I know there's shows like Legendary on HBO Max, and of course everybody is probably familiar with RuPaul's Drag Race at this point. So folks have probably heard of balls, and when you get to walk the different categories, the Paris is Burning of it all. And the show that they ended far too early, that I can't think of the name right now. But
Pose.
yes,
Far
Pose.
too early. Far
So,
too early.
so those things are a part of ballroom culture. Like, you might have members of a house who participate in those fun things. But what Berhend is talking about is ultimately what a house is. You need structure. You need parents. So in these houses, there are parental figures. There are folks who are sometimes not much older than the kids in the house, but they are up and taking responsibility for everyone else in the house. And then you've got your siblings and the folks who you meet, and that becomes your chosen family. And it's just important for people to have people anyway, right? But imagine what it is when your people, your blood, say, nah, not you. Like, you are not my people. There's a devastation and a trauma that comes from that is difficult to get past. And I mean, let's look at most of us. Most of us don't have access to therapy. So imagine a 15-year-old homeless kid who's just trying to figure out, like, what is gay? Oh, is that me? Like, still figuring out. And somebody just said, nope, hate you for figuring it out. So I love that houses are available. I hate that sometimes, the structures are, as low income as they are. But if you look at the socioeconomic opportunities available to a lot of queer folks, it all lines up. It makes sense. But definitely support your houses when you them, and ask questions respectfully if there are things that you'd like to understand, and if there are ways that you can help because you're privileged, be privileged. That's cool, and help.
That part.
I think we can get an amen and ashe on that part. So, ladies, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but I do want to, for those who are watching the replay or watching live, what are some ways, one, that can get in touch with and learn more about your nonprofit organization? Alexis and Ellen, you are just out here writing and really sort of, not sort of, living a dream. I mean, to go from watching Murphy Brown and Gilmore Girls to, like, this is my life. This is what I do. How can people get in touch with you all?
I'm on a bit of a hiatus right now in my activism work. So you can check out my social media content. I am Alexis Douglas 111, Alexis_Douglas 111 on Instagram, and Alexis Douglas on Facebook. I have a YouTube channel, Ask Alexis 111. But my content right now has slowed because I'm out here actually boots on the ground, and that is initiative. It takes time and commitment and perseverance to get these initiatives on the ballot.
No, but thank you for doing that work. I too am not fairly active on social media these days, just because I don't want to be. And I think that it's important to do that sometimes. But I'm a lurker, right? So you're not gonna catch me posting, but babe, I'm there. So if you're checking for me, I totally answer DMs, be they on Twitter or Insta. Everything is E said, she said, at E said, she said.
Thank you so much. And we're going to say big ups to Liz. Love it. I love it. I'm here for it. I live for it. So thank you so much, ladies, for being with us today and taking time out, especially, talking about all things intersection and influence. And big shout out to you, Alexis, for being out here on these campaign streets. And I think that's another thing for sure that we want to encourage in our girls is the spirit of activism. And in particular, like in your community, in your 4-block radius, what's going on? If you don't like what's going on, what you doing about it? Because you have the power to do something and say something about, the abandoned house on your block, not being able to have access to clean water or any other things, or the liquor store that serves potatoes that could walk. Yes, go ahead.
I just want to say this. Becoming an activist, if you don't let your anger fuel you with all the things you don't like. Take them things that you don't like and figure out what solutions you want to have and put that energy there. So if you don't like the way your neighborhood look, what do you want your neighborhood to look like? And then put right action to go to it. But that is powerful for you and your consciousness and every identity that you have. And it is just a great life practice to have. You see a problem, what is the solution? What is your desired outcome? And that is where your attention should flow.
Absolutely. And we have to see it as a finished work. We have to hold the vision of what's possible. And Ellen, any final words that you may have for us as we close? Okay. So thank y'all for hopping aboard the POG 747. We are here and for Saturday, bringing you impactful and powerful women in our community. And drop us a line. Tell a friend, tell everyone you know to tune in to our network. You can find us online at thepowerofgirlhood.org, and you can also find us on LinkedIn and right here on YouTube. And please subscribe to our newsletter. So until next time, we'll see you on the fourth Saturday. And ladies, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us.